The moment Ronnie Dunn took the mic at the Grand Ole Opry, time seemed to slow. At 72, with a career spanning more than 4 decades, he wasn't there to sing another classic. He was there to redefine one. Fans leaned forward in their seats as Ronnie cleared his throat, eyes scanning the hushed crowd. Just days earlier, social media had buzzed with rumors, solo dates, cryptic posts, studio sessions. Yet no one predicted the seismic confession he was about to deliver. A revelation so powerful it would rip the roof off their expectations and challenge everything we thought we knew about Brooks and Dunn. Born October 24, 1953, in Coleman, Texas, Ronnie grew up in a world where country music was as essential as air. He traded chores for guitar lessons, his soulful tenor echoing through abandoned barns and roadside bars. Each note he sang was a brushstroke painting his future, and every mile he drove chasing open mic nights stitched him closer to his destiny. By the time he met Kix Brooks in Nashville's whirlwind scene, Ronnie was no wide-eyed newcomer. He was a road-tested troubadour with a voice roughened by sweat and whiskey, ready to stake his claim. When the pair officially formed Brooks and Dunn in 1990, the chemistry was instantaneous. Their debut album exploded onto the country charts, paving the way for a string of mega-hits: Boot Scootin' Boogie, Hard Workin' Man, Neon Moon. Their voices danced together like perfectly matched puzzle pieces, yet behind the scenes, differences simmered. Ronnie's perfectionism clashed with Kix's improvisational spark. Ronnie favored the old-school twang and heartache. Kix leaned into rock riffs and rollicking energy. That dynamic tension fueled their creativity, but also planted seeds of unease. For nearly 20 years, they dominated award stages and stadium tours, winning Grammy Awards and CMA Entertainer of the Year honors. The Country Music Hall of Fame welcomed them in 2019 as symbols of an era. Yet amid the glamour, whispers of friction persisted. Insiders spoke of late-night studio debates over lyric changes that erupted into heated arguments. Crew members remembered Kix pacing corridors while Ronnie hunched over song sheets, fine-tuning every syllable. Fans sensed the undercurrent during reunion shows when the duo's banter sometimes stretched tauter than a guitar string. In recent seasons, the hints grew louder. Ronnie booked intimate acoustic sets from Texas to Tennessee. Kix headlined indie country festivals in Europe. Their joint appearances dwindled to festival dates and special TV spots. Media outlets, country blogs, entertainment tabloids circulated theories: a split on the horizon, new solo directions, management rifts over royalties. Yet each rumor was met with a rehearsed denial. They were just exploring side projects, they insisted, and their bond remained rock solid. Nobody suspected the Opry stage was about to prove them wrong. That night, the spotlight painted Ronnie's face in warm amber. After opening with a reimagined acoustic version of Cowgirls Don't Cry, he paused before the final chorus. The audience, already enraptured by the stripped-down arrangement, sensed something was off. With a slow exhale, Ronnie leaned into the microphone and said, "I've carried a secret for too long." A collective gasp rippled through the hall. His voice was steady but laced with gravity as he prepared to unveil a truth that would shake the foundations of country music. He spoke of loyalty and betrayal, of creative sacrifices made in the name of partnership, and of moments when unity masked underlying discord. He described a pattern of decisions that, while aimed at preserving their brand, had left him feeling stifled and sidelined. Then came the bombshell, a confession that Ronnie had longed to pursue a genre-bending solo project, one that would fuse blues, rock, and gospel in a way Brooks and Dunn's formula never allowed. He revealed he'd written and recorded an entire album in secret, fearful that revealing it would jeopardize the most successful duet in country history. As he laid bare his hidden artistry, the audience sat stunned. Some clutched their programs, others stared wide-eyed at the stage. Was this the end of a beloved partnership? Would Kix respond with his own bombshell, or would silence hang heavy in the aftermath? Ronnie's admission wasn't just about creative differences. It was a declaration of independence, an artist reclaiming his voice after years of compromise. The revelation transformed decades of harmony into a poignant testament to the tensions that drive art forward. Tonight, we'll unpack every element of that revelation and trace its impact ripple by ripple. We'll revisit the pivotal moments that led Ronnie to record in secrecy, hear from Nashville insiders who witnessed the friction firsthand, and explore what this means for the future of Brooks and Dunn and for country music itself. Stay with us as we dive into the life and legacy of Ronnie Dunn and unravel the bombshell that left the country world reeling. The day after Ronnie's Grand Ole Opry revelation, Nashville felt transformed. Music rose offices, once humming with predictable routines, buzzed with urgent whispers. Label executives raced to understand the implications of Ronnie's secret recordings, managers delved into contract clauses, and publicists drafted carefully worded statements. Ronnie had always been the steady, reliable half of Brooks and Dunn, the voice that anchored every harmony, the lyricist whose pen captured heartache and hope in equal measure. Now he stood revealed as an avant-garde visionary, carving out a path beyond the well-trodden Brooks and Dunn blueprint. Industry insiders compared the moment to John Mellencamp's 1987 split from MCA or Tim McGraw's 2010 Instagram announcement. A veteran artist seizing control of his narrative. Backstage at the Opry, Kix Brooks watched the broadcast on his phone, heart pounding. They'd spoken that morning, exchanging pleasantries about rehearsal schedules and the upcoming tour. Ronnie had sounded calm, perhaps even excited about the next show. Kix had no inkling of the storm about to break. As the revelation unfolded, he scrolled through messages from friends and colleagues. Disbelief, concern, support. Some texts were compassionate. If anyone can bridge this, it's you too. Others blunt. Feels like the end of an era. Kix knew fans had invested over 3 decades in their partnership. He also understood that creative restlessness might finally tip the scales. Meanwhile, fans on social media battled to make sense of the news. Twitter threads stretched endless scrolls of speculation. Was a breakup imminent? Would the duo's signature sound evolve? How would this impact the upcoming stadium dates? Online polls measured sentiment. 63% felt betrayed, 27% excited about Ronnie's new direction, and 10% hopeful for a reunion tour reimagined. Comments flooded with memories. I saw my first concert on the Back by Heart tour, and their harmonies got me through high school heartbreak. In niche forums, superfans compared Ronnie's move to Dolly Parton's solo detour or Garth Brooks' Chris Gaines persona, debating whether the gamble would yield artistic liberation or commercial disaster. Deep in the studio where Brooks and Dunn's final sessions had taken place, the engineering team found themselves dusting off old tapes. Tracks labeled and used rough mixes suddenly held new intrigue. Rumors swirled that Ronnie's clandestine album wove bluesy guitar riffs with gospel-infused backing vocals and raw, confessional lyrics he'd shelved under the Brooks and Dunn brand. Producers who'd collaborated with Ronnie described his secret sessions as electric, unfiltered, and emotionally raw. One session musician, speaking on condition of anonymity, recalled late-night jams where Ronnie's tenor soared over swampy Delta blues grooves, a far cry from the crisp country twang that defined his legacy. Not every reaction was ecstatic. Some critics accused Ronnie of abandoning the duo for a self-indulgent side project, arguing loyalty demanded transparency. Traditionalists lamented what felt like the potential end of an era defined by 2 decades of anthems. Yet others praised Ronnie's courage, reminding fans that country music's roots lie in reinvention, from Hank Williams to Willie Nelson to Casey Musgraves. Innovation often emerges from the fringes, and this could be the spark that ignites a new creative renaissance. In the midst of this cultural maelstrom, Kix held a private meeting with their management team. The agenda was simple yet daunting. Assess contract obligations, strategize public statements, and plan for the June tour kickoff. Would Brooks and Dunn perform together? Could they share a stage without undermining Ronnie's autonomy? Industry attorneys pored over agreements, weighing buyout options against goodwill considerations. Sponsors and ticket promoters awaited clarity. A tour cancellation could mean financial losses in the millions. Behind closed doors, Kix reached out to Ronnie. Their conversation, heard by managers on both sides, set the tone for days ahead. Ronnie, his voice threaded with resolve, explained that his secret album wasn't a bid to dissolve Brooks and Dunn, but a parallel journey, a way to channel creative energy without diluting the duo's brand. He proposed a dual-release strategy, a Brooks and Dunn summer tour followed by his solo album launch in the fall. This approach, he argued, could satisfy fans on both fronts and preserve their legacy while lighting a new artistic path. Kix, ever the pragmatist, acknowledged the logic but needed time to reconcile the emotional fallout. The bond that carried them from Tootsie's Orchid Lounge Band nights to sold-out arenas was forged in shared dreams and vulnerabilities. The revelation felt like a fracture in that foundation, yet Kix sensed that, if navigated thoughtfully, it could become a new chapter rather than a final curtain. They agreed to present a united front at an upcoming press conference, a commitment to transparency, respect, and a promise that the heart of Brooks and Dunn would endure. Even as Ronnie's individual voice found a broader stage, Nashville braced for the next act. The story of Ronnie Dunn's Bombshell was still unfolding. Would fans embrace this brave new direction? Could two legendary careers coexist side by side? The answers lay ahead, waiting for the first notes of Ronnie's secret album to meet eager ears. Until then, the music world watched, listened, and wondered. When one half of a storied duo demands creative freedom, will the harmony survive, or will the discord echo as the final chord? Amid swirling speculation, Ronnie retreated to a secluded studio nestled in the foothills of Tennessee's Cumberland Mountains, accompanied only by a handful of trusted collaborators. Here, far from the glare of Music Row and the press's prying lenses, he refined the clandestine album he had only dared to whisper about. Over 6 months, the sessions evolved into a bold fusion of raw Delta blues, soul-infused gospel, and rock-tinged guitar licks Ronnie had long admired but seldom embraced on Brooks and Dunn records. Late-night jams stretched until dawn as Ronnie's tenor voice cut through smoky air, bearing new lyrics that grappled with age, legacy, and the restless longing of an artist reclaiming his identity. Producers who witnessed the process spoke of a transformation in Ronnie's approach. He traded the meticulous arrangements of mainstream country for improvisational jams, sparked by spontaneous chord changes and impassioned solos. One engineer recalled, halfway through a take, Ronnie would pivot, scrap the verse, and dive into a guitar solo that sounded like 2 decades of pent-up creativity finally unleashed. Backup vocalists described sessions where spontaneous choir harmonies arose, channeling the spirit of Southern Baptist congregations, as if gospel revival and barroom honesty had collided in perfect harmony. News of these secret sessions eventually reached Kix through mutual friends. Though initially taken aback, Kix admitted later that his curiosity outweighed any sense of betrayal. He listened to leaked demos, rough mixes sent to him under an alias, and felt both pride and envy. Pride that his partner possessed such untapped depth, envy that Ronnie had embarked on a journey he could not yet join. As the demos circulated in select circles of Nashville tastemakers, they garnered glowing reactions. Journalists praised the emotional heft of Ronnie's lyrics, while fellow musicians marveled at his willingness to break country conventions. The duet's joint press conference announced for mid-June. Promises of clarity and unity filled every headline. Yet behind the scenes, tensions simmered. Kix wanted to celebrate Ronnie's solo work with genuine enthusiasm. His management urged him to caution fans against expecting a permanent split. Ronnie, meanwhile, prepared to frame his revelation as an evolution rather than a departure. The stagecraft was meticulous, a warm studio setting with both artists seated on stools, guitars resting on their laps, images of their shared history projected on a screen behind them. The narrative would emphasize a shared past, mutual respect, and a future where their partnership and individual artistry could coexist. When the day arrived, cameras crowded the modest conference room. Kix opened with gratitude. Our journey started 35 years ago in a tiny club. We've shared triumphs beyond anything we dreamed. Ronnie's voice has always soared, and now he needs space to let it fly in new directions. He gestured toward Ronnie, who nodded and launched into his prepared statement. Brooks and Dunn wrote some of the most joyful and heartbreaking songs I'll ever be proud of. But somewhere along the way, I felt a part of me waiting to speak in a different voice. I didn't want to say goodbye to this partnership, so I recorded those songs in secret while we kept making history together. The audience erupted in applause. Reporters pressed for details. When would the solo album drop? Would Brooks and Dunn record new material? How would this affect tour dates? Kix assured that their summer residency would proceed as planned, promising new collaborations and reimagined setlists featuring both classic hits and unreleased material. Ronnie revealed that his solo album, tentatively titled Lone Rider Blues, would be available in early fall, preceded by a lead single co-written with Sheryl Crow and steeped in Appalachian roots rock. Contrast framing underscored their statements. Memories of sold-out arenas flashed alongside clips of Ronnie alone in a dimly lit studio, his face illuminated by a single overhead lamp. Where Brooks and Dunn's unity once felt seamless, this conference underscored a rare bittersweet truth. Even the closest creative partnerships must sometimes bend to allow individual expression. Yet the duo's joint presence, their unforced camaraderie and mutual admiration, offered a hopeful counterpoint to fears of a permanent fallout. Within days, insiders reported that pre-orders for Lone Rider Blues shattered expectations, while ticket sales for Brooks and Dunn's residency soared, fueled by fans eager to witness how the duo would integrate Ronnie's new material into their live show. Streaming platforms created curated playlists blending Brooks and Dunn classics with Ronnie's unreleased demos. Radio stations scheduled special segments featuring interviews and acoustic snippets. The music community buzzed with anticipation. This was not an exit, but an expansion. Two artists exploring parallel paths while navigating the legacies they built together. As the calendar edged toward autumn, anticipation reached a fever pitch. Industry analysts predicted that Lone Rider Blues could chart in multiple genres, heralding a new era for Ronnie's career. Simultaneously, Brooks and Dunn's summer shows promised to become proving grounds for hybrid performances, where fans could hear hits like Believe interwoven with Ronnie's blues-soaked confessions. The narrative had shifted from uncertainty to opportunity, from potential discord to creative synergy. In the final analysis, Ronnie Dunn's Bombshell did more than expose hidden songs. It challenged preconceptions about artistic partnerships and the courage required to evolve. By facing potential backlash and embracing vulnerability, he ignited a conversation about authenticity, longevity, and the transformative power of creative risk. And as the world waited for the first official solo single and the next Brooks and Dunn performance, one truth emerged. When a legend dares to step outside the shadow of his own success, he can illuminate new paths for both himself and the music he loves. The morning Lone Rider Blues dropped. Ronnie watched streaming numbers climb as if he'd lit a fuse under his own career. Within the first hour, servers faltered under the rush. Midnight playlists turned into sunrise discoveries. Listeners who'd grown up on Brooks and Dunn's polished harmonies now found themselves captivated by raw slide guitar chords and lyrics that tasted of dirt roads and restless souls. The first single, Midnight Freight, opened with a mournful harmonica before Ronnie's tenor voiced a tale of leaving home in search of truth. By verse 2, fans were sharing clips on social media, tagging each other with "Have you heard this?" and "Ronnie just broke my heart," in the best way. Critics, too, scrambled to respond. Country magazines published think pieces. Was this a genre leap or a natural extension of Ronnie's roots? Mainstream outlets applauded the courage it takes to break from formula, while indie bloggers praised the authenticity in every hushed vocal crack and spontaneous blues run. One prominent reviewer declared, "Ronnie Dunn has reinvented himself not by abandoning his past, but by excavating it, unearthing sounds that have always lived beneath his Nashville veneer." Another suggested that Midnight Freight could become the anthem for anyone weary of comfort zones, calling it a call to action for the restless. Meanwhile, ticket holders for Brooks and Dunn's summer residency watched anxiously for hints of Ronnie's new material in the setlist. When the duo took the stage at the sold-out amphitheater on a balmy June evening, anticipation buzzed louder than the opening amps. As the lights dimmed, fans erupted in cheers at the familiar guitar riff of Boot Scootin' Boogie, dancing in their seats. Yet midway through the set, Ronnie and Kix exchanged knowing grins. Kix stepped back, letting Ronnie's silhouette fill the spotlight while the opening harmonica of Midnight Freight drifted across the speakers. The crowd fell silent, then erupted again, this time in adoration of the unexpected twist. That moment encapsulated the season's spirit, contrast framing alive in real time. 1 minute, nostalgia reigned. The next, uncharted territory beckoned listeners forward. Ronnie's voice, once synonymous with the smooth certainty of country choruses, now carried an edge forged in midnight sessions and secret studios. Kicks, amplifying his partner's bold pivot, played rhythm guitar with a subdued smile, recognizing that sometimes the best duets thrive on tension as much as harmony. The applause that followed transcended nostalgia. It celebrated creative courage as the tour rolled into smaller markets. Outdoor stages in Virginia tobacco fields, rustic barns in upstate New York, Ronnie and Kix leaned into this dual identity. They interwove Brooks and Dunn classics with acoustic covers of Midnight Freight and a second single, Lost in the Delta, which layered gospel choir echoes under Southern rock riffing. Fans posted videos of grandmothers wiping tears at Believe, followed by front-row teenagers bopping along as Ronnie wailed blues licks. Social media hashtags like #BrooksandBlues and #LoneRiderTour trended for weeks, demonstrating that the fusion of old and new could galvanize diverse audiences. On the business side, streaming numbers from the residency broadcasts revealed a surge in Ronnie's solo backlog. Spotify playlists titled From Bond to Delta and Apple Music's Done Unbound featured deep cuts from his secret album, with fans praising unexpected collaborators, from phosphorescence folk guitars to Mavis Staples style gospel refrains. Sales projections for Lone Rider Blues climbed steadily. Industry analysts revised their forecasts upward, predicting crossover chart positions in blues, rock, and Americana categories. Even awards pundits whispered of Grammy nominations, a testament to how a courageous pivot could yield critical as well as commercial success. Behind the stage lights, Ronnie reflected on the journey that brought him here. The secret recordings, the tense press conference, the mix of skepticism and excitement. It had all led to this moment of creative vindication. Kix, too, found renewed inspiration. He tapped into the blues guitar techniques Ronnie had introduced, experimenting with slide solos on their opening tracks and collaborating on a surprise single blending their distinct voices. Their partnership, once thought to be fading, now pulsed with new energy, each artist feeding off the other's bold detours and shared history. In studios around Nashville, other country acts took note. Producers approached Ronnie for co-writing sessions that blurred genre lines, and emerging artists cited Lone Rider Blues as proof that success need not be a creative cul-de-sac. Ronnie began mentoring young talents at songwriting workshops, urging them to embrace risk and authenticity. He stressed that legacy is not defined by past glories alone, but by the willingness to challenge expectations and keep evolving. The summer tour drew to a close under a canopy of fireworks and encore chants. One truth settled over Nashville. Ronnie Dunn's Bombshell was more than a headline. It was a blueprint for artistic renewal. By balancing the comfort of beloved hits with the thrill of new musical frontiers, he and Kix demonstrated that even storied duos can diverge without dissolving. They showed that audiences, too, crave genuine evolution. And they proved that the bravest notes sometimes come from the silent spaces between expectation and surprise. As summer turned to autumn, the afterglow of Ronnie's revelations rippled through the country music ecosystem. Award committees took notice. Nominations for Lone Rider Blues arrived for Best Americana Album, Best Country Duo/Group Performance, for a surprise Brooks and Dunn collaboration on Delta Road, and even a nod in the blues category, an unprecedented crossover. Industry veterans remarked that few artists had ever bridged such stylistic divides so effectively. Music Row lobbyists whispered that Ronnie's gambit might reshape chart formulas and radio formats, encouraging stations to embrace more genre-fluid playlists. What began as a secret experiment had blossomed into a benchmark for artistic reinvention. Meanwhile, Brooks and Dunn's management reported robust ticket sales for the upcoming world tour, fueled by fans eager to experience the duo's evolving set lists. Corporate sponsors, even longtime hard country brands, held fast, while boutique spirits and high-end guitar makers clamored to align with Ronnie's newfound bluesy cachet. Merchandise booths sold limited edition vinyl copies of Lone Rider Blues, pressed in gold and copper hues to evoke dawn breaking over dusty rails. Pop-up listening parties sprouted from Texas to Tokyo, often hosted by local radio DJs who spun the album alongside classic Brooks and Dunn hits, narrating the story of Ronnie's concealed studio odyssey. Fan testimonials flooded in. In Memphis, a gospel choir credited Delta Road with reigniting their congregation's musical outreach. In Kansas City, a retired freight conductor said Midnight Freight awakened memories he'd suppressed for years, inspiring him to volunteer with a rail safety nonprofit, mirroring Ronnie's own philanthropic turn. On forums like Reddit's r/country music, threads dissected each track's chord progressions, lyrics, and production choices, as listeners compared Ronnie's blues roots to legends like Robert Johnson and Buddy Guy. The discourse transcended mere fandom. It became a musical masterclass in genre fusion. Academics joined the conversation. Musicologists penned articles on how Ronnie invoked Delta blues tropes, call-and-response structures, slide guitar bottlenecks, while retaining narrative storytelling endemic to country ballads. One university course on American roots music adopted Lone Rider Blues as a textbook example of 21st century hybridization, assigning students to analyze how Ronnie's vocal inflections betrayed echoes of his Brooks and Dunn heyday even as his instrumental palette expanded. The project highlighted a lineage from Carter family harmonies through Ray Charles's genre leaps, underscoring Ronnie's place within a broader continuum. Radio hosts reported that listener calls shifted from nostalgia, requests for boot scootin' boogie, to curiosity. What's your take on Ronnie's blues album? DJs responded by blending sets, pairing Brooks and Dunn's My Maria with Lost in the Delta, generating enthusiastic feedback and extending time slots once reserved strictly for Country Hour. The integration spurred ratings spikes in coveted demographics, prompting program directors to consider dedicated Americana blends. Ronnie's secret sessions, once perceived as esoteric, had become a catalyst for programming innovation. Even Kix Brooks felt the impact beyond the stage. His solo projects, live-streamed acoustic sessions, surprise collaborations with folk singer-songwriters, garnered renewed attention as fans explored each member's individual artistry. The duo's dynamic, long romanticized as symbiotic, now embraced dual autonomy. Interviewers who once asked, "What's it like working with your partner?" now queried both artists separately. "What have you discovered about yourself outside the duo?" The shift elevated them from a binary act to two multifaceted musicians, each with his own narrative arc. Back in Tennessee, Ronnie savored evenings in the studio reworking B-sides from Lone Rider Blues. He experimented with gospel-inflected organ lines and invited local blues legends for cameo solos. On some nights, he composed new songs inspired by fan letters, stories of courage in the face of adversity, of second acts fueled by Ronnie's bold example. These tracks circulated as digital exclusives, deepening the grassroots connection he'd forged by bearing his vulnerabilities. Fans appreciated that, even amid acclaim, Ronnie remained grounded in the same spirit that had driven him to record in secret. Authenticity over artifice that in boardrooms and living rooms alike. Ronnie's journey became shorthand for creative liberation. Mentorship programs flourished under his auspices. Workshops he hosted invited aspiring songwriters to break out of stylistic boxes and explore hybrid forms. A nonprofit he founded awarded grants to musicians elevating underrepresented genres, dedicating half its funds to supporting female and minority artists in country and blues. His legacy now spanned far beyond chart-topping hits. It encompassed structural change in an industry traditionally bound by rigid categories. As the leaves turned gold, Brooks and Dunn prepared for their most ambitious tour yet, a winter residency at Nashville's Grand Ole Opry House, followed by international dates in Europe and Australia. Setlists promised a seamless weave of favorite anthems and Ronnie's solo numbers, performed in stripped-back arrangements that spotlighted both artists' versatility. Tour rehearsals featured the duo navigating key changes and stylistic shifts in real time, fine-tuning transitions so that audiences experienced an uninterrupted journey from hoedown to blues revival and back again. In reflecting on this season of transformation, Ronnie often recalled a phrase from a mentor: "Artistic dead ends exist only when you let fear decide your direction." By defying expectations and risking commercial backlash, he charted a course that not only revitalized his own career, but opened new horizons for peers and fans alike. In doing so, he reaffirmed that even a storied duo can evolve without fracturing, that partnerships can expand to encompass multiple creative souls, and that the bravest bombshells are those that light the path toward collective growth. In the months since Lone Rider Blues reshaped country music's contours, Ronnie Dunn has embraced each dawn with renewed purpose. Gone are the days when he felt constrained by expectation. Now, he navigates a world where his voice can soar freely across genres. His winter residency at the Grand Ole Opry House stands as both tribute to his storied past and beacon of transformation, offering audiences a tapestry woven from classic anthems and blues-infused revelations. Each note carries echoes of midnight trains and gospel choirs, layered over the familiar thrum of fiddle bows and steel guitars. When he steps to the microphone, fans find themselves suspended between nostalgia and discovery, proof that evolution can be as thrilling as any debut. Offstage, Ronnie's schedule is equally animated. He mentors emerging songwriters through a residency at Nashville's Belmont University, guiding students to break free from genre silos. His nonprofit, Bluegrass Roots Collective, funds instruments and grant awards for female and minority artists, ensuring that diversity blossoms across country, blues, and Americana. In boardrooms and coffee shops alike, his story inspires conversations about authenticity and the courage it takes to seize a voice that refuses to be silenced. Meanwhile, Brooks and Dunn's international tour dates extend from city arenas to European music festivals and Australian country carnivals. Fans cheer for the duo's seamless blend of two musical worlds, celebrating Neon Moon alongside Lost in the Delta. The juxtaposition of familiar melodies and fresh revelations underscores a simple truth. Innovation thrives when artists embrace both legacy and risk. In interviews, Ronnie reflects on the power of surprise. I learned that my audience trusts me to be genuine, he says. If I'd stayed silent, I'd have betrayed a part of my soul. His candid remarks resonate with musicians across disciplines, reminding them that authenticity is both compass and currency in an industry often driven by Formula As. The winter tour culminates in a sold-out New Year's Eve show in London's Royal Albert Hall. Ronnie and Kix deliver a final encore, a tribute medley that threads their earliest 1990s hits into a blues rock crescendo. The audience rises in unison, a living testament to the duo's resilience, adaptability, and shared spirit. In a hushed post-concert press conference, Kix grips Ronnie's shoulder and beams. Discussing their journey, he quotes a lyric from their first duet: "If we stand together, we can weather anything." Then he adds, "Our partnership has evolved, just like the songs we write. We've learned that harmony isn't about sameness. It's about composition and contrast." The story of Ronnie Dunn's Bombshell thus reaches a powerful conclusion, a narrative not of division, but of growth, collaboration, and creative renewal. It reminds us that the bravest artists are those willing to challenge their own myths and forge new identities. As Ronnie closes his guitar case after the final chord, he knows that the next chapter awaits beyond any backstage curtain. With authenticity as his compass and a legacy rooted in both tradition and innovation, he prepares to write songs that reflect the myriad hues of human experience. Whether anchored in blues or soaring through country ballads, Ronnie Dunn's journey stands as testament to the transformative power of truth, daring creativity, and the unbreakable bond between artists who choose to grow together. In communities from Nashville to Newcastle, from Calgary to Cape Town, Ronnie's message echoes. Young musicians pick up guitars and mixers with fresh eyes, inspired to blend genres, tell bolder stories, and trust their instincts. Music festivals experiment with cross-genre stages, while radio programmers curate playlists that traverse blues, country, rock, and soul without borders. Tonight, as the curtain falls on one of country music's most astonishing transformations, we celebrate more than a solo album or a controversial revelation. We celebrate courage, the resolve to step off the well-worn stage and into uncertainty, the willingness to disrupt expectations, and the belief that art thrives in the tension between past comfort and future possibility. And so, with guitars polished and spirits emboldened, Ronnie Dunn turns the page. His story reminds every artist that the greatest harmonies are born from bold solos, and that sometimes the loudest applause comes after the bravest silence. Listen, evolve, thrive.